Welcome, everyone. My name is Tony Carkmill, President of Civil CAD Learning Solution and also President of the DFW BIM Infrastructure User Group. And today we have two guests. We have Kevin and we're going to have Peter, both representing one from CyberCity 3D and also NextSpace. Kevin, if you'd like to explain what your company does and your software does, and maybe later we'll talk about a little bit about digital twin. All right.
Yeah, so the takeaways from this presentation are you'll learn a lot more about 3D buildings, and you'll learn about the operating system that actually manages those buildings as individual data entities. So the two companies presenting today are CyberCity 3D and NextSpace. NextSpace is in New Zealand. The presenter for NextSpace is located in Sweden, and I don't know what happened, but he's got a time zone crash or something came up, and so he's unable to present. So we've been scrambling around to find another presenter. I believe Peter Ding is going to pinch hit, or I can do it myself because I certainly know enough about using NextSpace operating system software. So I'll go ahead and go through the building part, and then we'll see where we stand there. Either I'll give the presentation or Peter will. So here we go. So CyberCity 3D was founded in 2008, Southern California. Originally, the technology was invented at ETH Institute in Switzerland. And it was created by photogrammetrists that wanted to approach a problem of generating measured 3D buildings with stereo imagery. So fast forward to today, we've got over 1.6 million 3D buildings modeled. Nowadays, they're also called digital twins. And we have over 125 cities that we've created models for, either cities or private enterprise that have asked for specific cities. We make buildings. We've expanded our building pipeline to make all levels of detail, because there's all kinds of visual systems that have developed over the years, and we want to accommodate each and every one of those based on the use case and the application of the building technology itself. So the use case is spread all over the place. And if you have a specific question, go ahead and write it in the message board in terms of, like, how do you visualize in Unreal, or how do these buildings work in mapping solutions? And I can help answer those, or Peter can when he joins. So looking at digital twins, I mean, the real question is, how do we look at a digital twin? Is it based on a return on investment, or is it based on the use benefit of the digital twin itself? So we tried to come up with a list of why digital twins are used and where they're most effective. And I believe that at its best, the digital twin captures the reality of the environment that you're trying to understand. The digital twin is supposed to be a proxy for that environment. It's not necessarily the environment because it's a digital model, but it's supposed to be a proxy for that to help you make better decisions. So the benefits obviously would pertain to having your own perspective and understanding the strategic role that those twins take, sharing a vision of the future, changing those digital twins or changing those visualizations to sort of define what the future that's happening, and also what the impacts are from that. Also layering up different versions so that you can understand different information, and simulating impacts. So using the model data with simulation environments to understand things like wind, shade, the effect on trees, capture, and so on. And be able to track and visualize. I'll probably show you some examples of that in this presentation. And also access information. So if I click a building, I get the name of the building, I have all the information on it. I can basically marry that information with the visual experience to have a better understanding. And then also you want to, create complex plans with easy visual descriptions so that those strategies can be understood at sort of a base level. In other words, we know that the city wants to put in some new roads and it wants to impact some sort of, mobility effect and traffic effect. But if you visualize that, people will understand that they can see the roads, they can see where the roads pass, the buildings the roads pass, and they get a better understanding of what that transportation network is really going to represent. So the first thing we do is talk about ontology. CyberCity 3D creates what are called LOD 2.5 buildings. And then we also create custom buildings, which we call LOD 3, 3.5, and LOD 4. So 4 different types of level of detail. There's some, there's a 2.0 and there's also a 1.0, but we don't need to show those now. Those are the basic buildings that are, either 2D or an extruded footprint. And then there's really high detailed buildings created with different types of software. And I encourage you to share with me what software you use to create 3D models so we can understand what people in your vertical, in your business do to create 3-dimensional models. So looking at the ontology, LOD 2.5 is 3D buildings with measured roof detail. So here you have the actual buildings themselves, the roof features, and then you have information like the height, the volume, the physical attributes of the building, and the buildings represented as a data set so that those buildings can be quantified, analyzed, visualized, and also serve as context to the overall visual model. LOD 2.5, also have other benefits. They can be measured. Here's a simulation of wind effects out of Blender on those buildings themselves and how those winds are impacted and how they change based on the physical attributes of the environment that the buildings are located. LOD 3 models are buildings with wall articulation. Those are buildings that have more information. You can actually look at the walls themselves and say, okay, this is an apartment with a number of floors, or it's a hotel with a number of floors. And I know there's a bunch of HVAC systems on the top of the building, some other structures. It just gives you more information to understand about the building. There's a trade-off with that because the more information you have in the building model, the heavier it is. So you start to get to a point where it impacts your visual experience on a web-based solution, but it might work, ideally in another type of rendering app. LOD 3.5 is the next level. It's basically that same kind of building with roof detail, but also texture matching. So now you know that Scott's Seafood Restaurant is down there because it says it right there on the overhang. And you can bring information that's pretty obvious now. So now we're getting to a point where you can actually go to street level and start interacting with these 3D models, either as an AR/VR environment or just a navigation environment where you want street level views and the impact of those views on your policies and your plans or your game or whatever you're doing. Another type of 3.5 image is one that's, I would call it more scalable, but sometimes you have challenges with those images, and those are from oblique images. They definitely have some great quality to them, but also you can have shadows and distortions, and so sometimes those obliques aren't suitable. But if you can get oblique images, you can scale the production of this with our software, and you can make large textured city model scenes.
Kevin, is there supposed to be a PowerPoint slide up? I don't know.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding me.
Somebody was asking. So.
Oh my God, you're kidding me. I went this whole thing without my slides on.
I thought you were just, giving a discussion before you got into the PowerPoint slide.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh.
If you just want to quickly show the PowerPoint
share my
slides.
Screen. Oh boy. Oh, this is too funny. Okay. Share. Now, do you guys see my screen?
Yes. Yeah, if you want to make it.
I can't see the messages, so nobody told me.
Yeah, if you want to just quickly slide through the slideshow to catch up where you.
Yeah, I'll walk through. I won't go through all the rationale for digital twins because everybody heard it, but I'll visualize the other aspects. Again, LOD 2.5, 3, 3.5, and 4 models. These are the LOD 2.5s with roof detail and measurement information and data available. These are the buildings being simulated, in this case in Blender, so you can look at wind impacts on those buildings. And the same LOD 2.5s. These are the buildings with walls articulated, greater information, more detail, more ability to utilize those in more detailed scenes. And then, of course, the 3.5s, which are textured buildings with computer matching image skins, as well as real photographs of the actual billboards and in this case, the business information on the buildings themselves. And I just talked a little bit about the oblique image capture and 3D modeling, which you saw. And then, of course, LOD 4s, where you reminded me that I wasn't really showing anything. And those are LOD 4 buildings. This is the Salesforce building. Just lots of materials, lots of polygons, definitely streamable over the web, but you got to watch what you're doing when you're bringing this many files into a web browser environment. You have to optimize the buildings. That's what we do with NextSpace software. And this is a great example of context and an actual building itself. Finally, I'll show a building with interior modeling, which is projects that we're currently working on, where you actually can go inside the buildings and interact. And I believe since Mark Thomas is available now to give a little presentation, he'll take you inside the buildings with the NextSpace software solution, and we'll be able to show some really good examples of that. But this is really where the developers get to benefit, because they get to bring their data into a digital twin platform, not only in the web, but also on rendering apps like Unreal, Omniverse, and Unity. So quick summary, LOD 2.5s mainly for 3D mapping and simulations. LOD 3s untextured, but have wall articulation, more information, better context, better information, better viewability, let's just say. Textured buildings, always, sort of ideal for a host of different applications, because you can really learn more about the buildings and have a better visualization. Obliques we talked about for scaling. If you have to do, a large number of buildings that are textured, maybe 1,000. And computer photo textured buildings, which are the buildings I just showed you, higher resolution, sometimes taken with ground photography, a little bit more effort, very, very pleasing to the eye and very applicable for a number of applications. And of course, LOD 4, which is the highest quality, where you can actually go inside the building, you can interact in different ways because you have the full model created. This is the workflow. I'm not going to walk you through this workflow now. If anybody wants to get information on how these buildings are created, I can provide that. But it's basically our patented process that models semi-automatically stereo image inputs and building outputs. And what's coming down the pipeline are trees. So imagine buildings and then having those trees with your buildings so that you have a full urban canvas now to work with, to interrogate, test, simulate, and visualize. So thanks so much. Happy to answer questions now. That's the CyberCity part of this presentation. Mark Thomas is here, who's the founder of NextSpace. Perfect person to demo NextSpace software. And Peter's here as well, that he can also add some flavor to the presentation. I'll stop my share. And there's Mark Thomas. Hey, Mark.
Yeah,
Mark.
hi, Kevin. Thank you for the introduction. Tony, we had some time zone issues, didn't we? So excuse me coming on. I'll do my best to show off some things for you guys.
Well, we've got a dozen nice people that understood what happened and stuck around. So I think we have a friendly crowd, which I think that's a good start.
Excellent, excellent. So I think we want to have a look today at how we can actually go to the next level of visualization, but also data within these digital twins. Using a combination of different levels of detail, ranging from the simple LOD1 all the way through to BIM models. And I'd really invite anyone on the call to stop and ask questions as we go along, because this is pretty freeform, this part of the demo. So by its nature. So be happy to take take questions. So I might just I'll share my screen here. Just one moment. And is everyone able to see my screen here?
Yes.
Excellent. So we're looking at a in this case a model which is a full geospatial model. We're actually looking at a part of New Zealand in this case. We have examples around the world, but I'll use this one as a familiar one. This was part of Christchurch, where there was a big reconstruction process going on after a very bad earthquake down here, and the whole city was reconstructed. So there were many things going on. So we were integrating geospatial data with BIM data, with new building data, with scan data, looking at the city prior to the earthquake and after, and the devastation and so forth. And as part of this program was a new library that was built, and this was a very detailed BIM model. And so we can zoom in here. We've got these bookmarks. So what we're looking at here is the NextSpace visualization tool. And just to explain what NextSpace does is provides first and foremost nothing to do with visuals, but other than the pure database that sits underneath the digital twin. So a structured way to represent all information, whether it be GIS data, BIM data, scan data, in a data fashion, and we'll explain that as we go through. So we're able to look at a digital twin simultaneously in a connected way across Cesium, Unreal, Epic Games. There are people working on Unity as well. The way we do it is that we work to bring all information into a data model, and then figure out what things look like, and then present the appropriate graphics in that visualization front end. And here we'll see this is a visualization front end we've built using the Cesium. The advantages of that are that it's pure web-based. It has almost unlimited scale spatially and from a data point of view. So if we zoom in here, we'll come down to this building, and we'll see in here, and this has been imported from an IFC file, but there are importers from Navisworks and Revit and SketchUp and IFC and so forth. We have control over shadows in the city, and we can turn those shadows off, and so we'll see we have LOD3 models. Some of these models have a data, so everything is database. So when I click on a building or an object in a building, we go and we see that we have a complete data schema behind this. We have a lot of tools that will merge data schemas. So you might have data coming in from different contractors and subcontractors. We have one concept of a building, we have to map all of that. We have one concept of a window, we have to map the data schemas that they all match the attribute structure we want for a window in a project. So there are many tools there, and we'll show a bit more, but this goes all the way down to a level of detail within a building. So if we come through this building here, we can come around, we'll see we have in fact the full level of detail. I'll just hide this window here, and we'll go inside the building. Let's click on this decorative tree for the students. We'll see we have all of the information, multiple images, documents, so all of the CAD stuff linked to this actual piece of equipment, all of the BIM data, and we can control, how much data is presented from the BIM side of things. And we can also have custom forms, and so we can start telling a whole story about a project or a proposal. That we can also adjust all of the attribution to meet the needs of long-term maintenance, so for asset management of the facility over its lifetime, we're going to want to track things as diverse as carbon footprint, energy usage, when was something last maintained, and we're able to actually go and deal with that. So if we go and click on this, we can actually go back to what is the fundamental database of this object, with all of its information. It's links back to SAP or to other management or maintenance systems. So it's a collation of BIM data, management data, IoT data, and so forth that goes back. And we have a deep understanding. We'll see that this is of entity type, what type of thing is it? It's from IOC, built-in from BRZ demo. And if I go to the entity types, we see this in building element proxy, and we have a look at the data schema. And so this is the data schema for this, dimensions and reconstruction, power, all the information that we might want about any object in the system. But as well as having all this rich data, and you can add we can add a new attribute to this, which is a new demo or a management attribute. But let's go back here, and we can go round to every single item and thing that's fully documented. But we can go one step further than this, and we can do markups. We might decide that we need to record some information in here, and we'll click and so we have all these sorts of things that we can do. So we can interact and leave markups and save that markup and so forth. But we can add images. We can draw polygons on the ground, markups. We can drag and drop and put new things like cranes or trees, or so there's a whole lot of tools that do it. But one of the exciting things that Kim mentioned, there's also the ability to export to the NVIDIA Omniverse environment, to the Epic Unreal environment. But let's go before we do that, actually, just to show what we mean by the full data side of things. I'm going to go around, and for this demo, we'll actually put some. We'll take this and say if we want to add, so we want to put the tree. So let's add. So Kevin's, we'll call it Kevin's demo, and we'll save the changes. We could add a new image or picture into here. If I had a picture of Peter, or Kevin, we would put it in here. And so this is the last person that did this demo. Let's see if I've got a little picture here. We'll pop a picture of someone on here we are, my grandson. So there's a picture of my grandson, and he's going to play on this tree. So we've saved that. And so now we're going to export, and then that of course could be something more formal, like a plan or a construction plan, an image, a 3D model, some other reference media. So we're going to export that now out to Epic Unreal. I'm going to start that export, and then we click on this, and I've just loaded that. We can do it again quickly, but here it is. So the same model comes up, and we're now in the Epic Unreal. So we have a viewer that we've created using the Epic Unreal environment and the cesium interface for all of the terrain, and we can get the city, and but what's more important is this is a full data model. So when I click on this building, recall before we saw this data, this is the same model. If we go down into this building, and I've got to, there's that tree in there, and I'm just going to go into navigate mode. So we've got a small change in this navigation, which I've got to learn. Yeah, so I've got to, and we'll walk through. Excuse me while I relearn our navigation. I'm not a gamer, but it has, so we can walk into this building. But before I go in, I've got to turn off the collision detection so I can actually get through the window. So we'll, okay, and we'll, and so we're now able to walk around in the same environment in this model. But what's important to note is that this is actually the same model. So that when I click on, when I click on the tree, we see a grandson who's going to play on the tree, and we see that's Kevin's demo. It's the same digital twin. So I'm simultaneously seeing data move, and if I open the same model up in the NVIDIA Omniverse environment, we can see all the HVAC equipment here. So we can look at the valves and the dimensions. So this is all of the model, without compromise, down to we can go in here. We can look at the time of day and see the light and the shadow move through here. We can go up and down the stairs, and we can see the outside environment, but everything is as data based.
And I think if I can intervene while Mark is demoing, this is really sort of a NextSpace superpower, right? You can build up your projects in a GIS environment, and then you can drop them into Unreal Engine and keep all your data that you have.
Yes,
so
yeah,
it's a significant product evolution that I believe will be sort of preparing for the next wave of visualization requirements in the future. So, and for us, for a city modeling business, we can drop a whole city in there. I mean, it's no big deal. We've got Cambridge. We can drop 20,000 buildings in there. So it's really amazing, and that's, to me, something that's truly unique with NextSpace software.
Yeah.
So on this NextSpace Navigator, are you able to record a video, take screenshots, or is this strictly for the account holder, or are you sharing this link to maybe a client?
So the way that it works, you can take screenshots of course, I'm just going to close down the Epic Unreal. We'll come back. So from here, we don't have videos. We have these bookmarks, that we share that record, a story of what we're looking at, so we can open up just this view, and that controls, what's on or off and so forth. And I can share this to anyone at all by clicking on this link here, and it will take someone to this specific view. There's this, so we can, this will take us back inside, the view, and to a markup. It'll take us to a view of the roof hidden, and remember that. And so at any stage we can stop and take a screenshot of that. We don't have a video capture yet. That will come in the new release. There's a whole new user interface that's been released, which has a few more features and is lovely and easy to use. It's kind of like, a geospatial PowerPoint, but it's 3D, it's interactive, it's geospatial. If I'm have a license to operate this, I can, as I say, we can add all the markups and call outs and add our own images, draw the lines. We can do measurements and mark up and so forth. And so we can get into any level of detail, mark it up and mix that information together. Does that answer the question, Tony?
Yes.
Yeah.
And is it just one file format you can bring in? I saw you mentioned IFC. Is there any other kind of file formats you can import in?
Yeah, oh yes, I mean there's a whole range of IFC, Revit, Navisworks, SketchUp, FBX, there's GeoJSON, for GIS files, KML, there's LAS, you can have all your point clouds. I mean, it's perhaps we'll go into I'll do an example.
NextSpace is essentially open architecture, Tony.
Okay, pretty much all the GIS file format.
Yeah, I mean, there's always some format that you're going to have to convert, and there's always requirements. Cesium has its own rules. Unreal has its own rules. Omniverse has their formats. It's that's like mixing and matching is why being open architecture is always a challenge when you're dealing with a lot of systems that are kind of open but not totally open. So. Yeah. We're always evolving. Let's just say.
We have the tools that bring together data of a tremendous number of different formats, either directly or using tools like QGIS or ArcGIS itself, or the translators. But largely we cover all of the key types of data, whether they be geospatial data. So for example, here, this is brought in from LiDAR scans. This is super high resolution LiDAR capture of a project. And, we can come down and into here and we see, we have a full, bridge, but it's within, in the landscape that's been scanned. You'll see that, high resolution landscape come up, and we have all of the drawings and plans, of the project all available, directly on the model. We can look at, every aspect and development of this. We can isolate the bridge. We can get in, close up. We can bridge construction stages. And if anyone, want to share this, so for example, if I go to this link and copy this, if anyone has a reasonable internet connection and has a graphics card, you can click on the link I've just put in the chat and you'll go to the same project. And so we go down. So here's stage 1. We can start database. You'll see here the project stage 1. I click on it and we see the build phase as 1. If I change that to 2, link to my project management and save it, will change color. so it's all data driven. I can color my world based on, whether, things are on budget or, off budget, and simply by changing the data. And that data can be changed by API, by user, interaction. So this is, a lot more than BIM data. This is now talking about financial data. So it's amalgamation of all information about the things of interest within your world. We can do markup and construction plan, and you can go in here and we'll add a new crane, and that so we can build up symbology libraries and bring those together. You can draw the markups, all of these cones, road markers. We can set up some road markers around and each one of these will be data based, so they can all be totaled, and costed, and have their own attribution and so forth. So, we can look at safety envelopes around the crane. We can look at object, these can be parametric objects that change. We can do the markup of or directly onto the landscape, the 3D landscape. So we're mixing in drone footage. We can bring in the geospatially located, DWG files, of course, a standard file format import. And these can be overlaid, and they're automatically placed in the right position in the world, because we understand all of the geospatial coordinate systems that come with different data. So we can mix and match different projection systems. We can go in here, we can bring in the data. We can either live link or import to ArcGIS. We can build up data like this, where it's telling us this is under review. This one will say it's approved because it's green, so we're colorizing it based on the actual status of the thing. So compliance, this one's under review, this one's applied, and so forth. So you've got ways to colorize, and you can also go down to a water supply area here. So we can merge the drawings. We've got the 3D drawing integration. So bring in the DWG. We can automatically draw the contours, the contour mapping for the site. So these are dynamically generated in 3D. We can change the line weight. We can change that to an elevation view. We can change the presets, and change what the values are. Minimum height is, I think that was about 40, 30, 20, and 100. There we go. So we've got all of these tools, elevation, slope analysis, aspect. We can go in, we can look underground, go down into a manhole, and we come down. And absolutely everything. If I click control, we get the full data on every object in this world, in this scene. And we can jump out to the database of this valve, look at the valve in full detail view in isolation. We can then pop out to another visualization. We can valve to industrial. We can look at relationships, so we can explore. There's a relationship between a valve to an industrial. This valve controls the water flow to here, and this talks about that relationship in terms of pressure ratings, capacity, and so forth of a link. So this is the concept of linking things together through any number of relationships. So this building sits on this land parcel is in this state. This building has this floor is in this building, this room is in this floor, this building is connected to this power grid, it's connected to these. So all of these interconnectivities and relationships can be stored within this digital twin model, so you can explore the consequences of changes within that environment. So, we come down, bore information, but there's no limit to the scale. We can see we're coming out here, and we're in a project, down here, on the earth, but we can zip across to Taiwan, the same model, and down into a road project, or into that building that you saw, before. In this case, we'll go down to to a road surface. We click on the road surface. We might say let's change that to over budget. Kevin spending too much, and then we can jump out again and say, well, okay, we need to do the presentation of that. So we start the export, and I click on that, and it opens up, and it's just, you'll see it just opening up. This is how quick it is to go from a digital twin model here to one in Epic Unreal. We can show some Omniverse if we have time. And by the way, Tony, just cut me off when you're when everyone's bored or we've finished, because I'm not very good at keeping to time.
Okay, I did share real quick the link to everybody, and so if you're curious to see where he's at in the model, just go click the bookmark on that hyperlink I shared, and then you can see all the different bookmark he has, and he's displaying on the screen right now.
Thank you, Tony, and stand by for the next update. There's a whole new user interface coming in a matter of a few weeks now, so some really exciting updates. But here's the model. We're in the Epic Unreal now for the same highway, but we get the same. So this will actually give us the over budget. So it's the same model, but we get the full, walkthrough capability of, with all the signs and.
That really looks great, Mark. Very cool.
It's
real quick question. When you were doing the utilities, are you able to like assign specifications for that, part?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we go back, let's go to that. Let's go back to this valve, for example. Let's click on the valve, and so we can, if we've already got an attribute structure set up for this, then if we have the appropriate permissions, we can go in and type in here the owner. Let's have a look at something like that. Will we just change the budget, like it was, but if I want to actually, if I have administrative privileges and I want to set this up, we can go back and look. This is the thing of entity type valve that's been brought in as part of the piping network. So now when I go into my administrative entities, I look at the entity. Okay, I'm going to have to jump out in just a second, guys. But if I go down here, we go to the piping. I think it was piping, was it? BRZ, sorry, I was going to remember. BRZ, or was it IFC? Oh, I'm sorry, I just got distracted there. I lost. Well, one of these is the piping and the network. It's now as RVT.
So would they assign the specification in here or do it before they export it as IFC?
They can do it in either place, Tony.
Okay.
Sorry, that's right. I apologize, got distracted for a moment. But so this would be if it was piping. In fact, let's just quickly. It was there, and it was entity type valve, and it was under BRZ piping. So let's have a look. Sorry, I was going blind, and it was valve. and if I go to the data schema in here, if I want to add a new, aspect here, which is Tony's visit date, or any, new attribute, so that now becomes a standard, and we could call it a string, or I could call it a date. And I save that. I don't need to re-index. And if I go back to this and refresh, then we'll see. Did I get the, someone here should be Tony's, Tony's visit date. So you have complete control over the data here. Can you guys, I'm sorry, I have to deal with a person. It's just for about 5 minutes, but Kevin, can you perhaps answer, and Peter, and I'll be right back. I do apologize, everyone. It was just a change, just a moment.
No problem. Don't you all love live demos? That's the joy of doing them live, because you know what? You can't fake it. You got to just be real.
Yeah.
What I can do is, Peter's here. He could show another project. Maybe you'd want to see some real world projects. I've got a project that we're working on now, just to give everybody kind of a view of what we're doing. Here's a model. This is using NextSpace software and building out a full 3D digital twin of Hollywood.
Oh, let me stop Mark's sharing. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. There you go.
Okay, great. Do you see it?
Yep.
Yeah. So, this is like a large scalable city model where you can start layering on more and more data. And in this case, each one of these icons represents a new production project that's going on. This was done for the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. And you can integrate, as you can see, we've integrated all different types of digital twins. For testing, it's sort of a sandbox for additional applications. And we've got LOD4 buildings, like here you've got the Capitol Records Tower. So you can see that you can load in large amounts of data. And then as this expands and more developers get involved and contribute their data, you're going to end up with these large digital twin cities that are going to be streamed to different users. So that's where I think the market's headed. So users like your group, Tony, would be able to access this kind of data or just stream it for their own projects and then customize it and add different information, different layers. I mean, we're going to be adding trees soon because you can survey trees just like you can survey buildings. And you can add different image layers. You can do all kinds of, real easy functional things via the web. Or if you want to produce a video, you can export all this data out and you can make a video, or you can create a live interaction with Unreal or Omniverse or some of the rendering apps. So
let me ask you this, for this big model, are you kind of coordinating with the city and see if they will provide data to you, like utilities underneath the road, any other things they have that they're willing to share with y'all?
They have open data sites. Like Los Angeles has the open data GIS. So you can download all that. I mean, there's literally millions of dollars of data in every city, infrastructure data, vector data, maps. It's unbelievable. LA probably invests 10 million a year in data that you can access and integrate. So that's called curation, right? You can curate all this other government data and bring it into Bruce and run it on those systems. So this is an application where we're bringing stakeholders in, and now we're bringing in specific developers that are saying, hey, we want all of our data on this. So now the big developers are stepping in. So as soon as this becomes like fully realized,
Yeah.
you're going to have these rich data sets that have all kinds of different applications. So Mark is back. We'll get back to NextSpace, but I wanted to show you some real world applications as well that we're involved in.
Hi, Kevin. Yeah, so apologies for that. I just had to deal with some service people arriving. So do we have any questions while I was away that I might be able to know? I can bring up some other demo content as we
Another
go.
question popped up. What about security? What kind of level of security do you have when you have so much data? What security levels do y'all have?
Sure. Let me share the screen again then. We have, let's see. Can you see my screen? The database side of it? Yeah. Okay. Yep. So this is under manage accounts. So this is where we have users, user groups, and then we have, group and contextual permissions and so there's really, quite a granular level of control over groups, what they can do. We can also use tags, so you can apply tags, which are very similar to the layers. When they map, you can map from layers to tags, but tags is a more generic thing that works in a, it's more familiar to the 3D world. And with those tags, we can say these users can see these, tags or layers of information, these can't. And so we can set up, what are called single tenant accounts. We can have multi-tenancy as well. If you, depending on the type of account you get, you can be completely separated from everyone and then build up your own, user access rules, within your world, or you can, control it right down to whatever you like. So there's very detailed tools for all of that.
This is all browser driven, right? You're not really on a desktop. You're on a browser, right? Running all this. And when you're downloading these files.
Everything runs on, absolutely everything runs on the browser, except for the NVIDIA Omniverse, or the I'll launch a bit of the or the Epic Unreal. They require a piece of software loaded on the computer. And for those interested in the Unreal side of things, that viewer that you saw before that we provided, we also provided in project plugin form. So we provide the source code to that. So that if anyone wants to build their own Epic Unreal experiences around their models using the basis that all the connections to the digital twin, we provide that complete framework as part of our code, as well as all the APIs, things to do anything they wish with the data, make external connections and so forth. Let me just.
And I can also, I think, are we done answering all the security questions? Because I think that's, if somebody asked about how do you protect all that data, I think Mark walked through it. The government data is pretty much open architecture anyway. I mean, I don't know what country some of these users are in, but sometimes countries don't make data available. The US, the cities, they sort of have to make all the data available. So,
but the account carries all of the data. So within this account, here's all of the we haven't done a search. So we have all of this entity types will come up. Explorer and an entity type. Not sure. So I've got. I'm sorry. Apologies here. That I'm dealing with an account which is. Let me just go to another. There's a problem with that account. I realize this morning TNG. And we'll go to NextSpace host. Yeah, so in this is where we have all of the entity types, and these entity types are created from the input. So when I bring in an IFC or a Revit file or something like that, it will actually draw from that, that I have, a beam, and the data schemas and all that. There's, other tools where I can map from multiple different accounts together. So, and it will build tile sets of that, and we add those, to the project view. So we go down to test and menu, and there are no menu items in here. There's this one. This one says load this, and then we do styles, and we can say, when it's this type of thing, style it like this, and so on. So this says, fly to this tile set, of this, library, with the HVAC tile structure, or the cityscape, load the CCC, CC3D, CyberCity 3D buildings, and assign them, this object type, building type. So it's an entire sort of management environment you get, the administrative environment, and then you have the front end. The new user interface provides, a whole, a new sort of look and feel to this, where you can do a lot more, directly in this environment. So, as we go through, and we're sort of updating a project to the new environment, and it lets you drag and drop files directly. You can do a lot more administrative work directly from the graphical interface now. But the two of them, anyway, so we can see, if we have settings, we have manage accounts, and we can see I have overview of, to many accounts that are linked, and then that's just the ones I have access to. But, we might have, demo facilities, infrastructure, plant and process. If I choose that, we go to the administrative, for that, we'll see that this has got, 33 gigabytes of storage. It's got, 17 million entities in it. We've got multiple project views, each of their, with their own particular collection of viewing different things in that environment.
Hey, Mark, Matthew asked about training, support, and troubleshooting. You want to address that really briefly?
Sure. So there's, training programs arrived. There's troubleshooting, of course. There's direct email support. There's resources page. If we go to the SharePoint, there's API information, how to, basic training, and so a lot of everything's on video and so forth. If you go to NextSpace, www.nextspace.com, you can click on the little hamburger thing, and we can look at everything from pricing, information, to you can see how it's priced, and the number of entities. In most cases, this is going to deal with most projects. In here, there's video library, and so a lot of these are both demonstrations, but they're also training, content as well in the videos. And we give access to, actually the training ones are not directly, we give access with the customers to a whole range of training videos as well. And they're also online. If we go to YouTube, so you can get a lot more comprehensive demonstration of our product from YouTube, just by going to YouTube and then searching on NextSpace and going to the video. And we can see everything from merging pipe and 3 water data to linking with the Omniverse. These are all videos from the software. This is looking at plant and process data, urban architecture, road, rail. We have tools that do linear asset management that will integrate video with where you are on a road or a rail track or a line or something like that. But this describes the whole process of loading files, point clouds, photogrammetry meshes, and so forth.
NextSpace University Online.
Fly mode. So some of these are old, some are new, and just to be disruptive, there's a whole lot of new user interface coming shortly. But that makes things even easier to use and read. But you can see everything here from electric utilities to flood hazards to buildings and agriculture and historical building records to factory planning to mall layout to community, digital twins to 3D, cities, fly-throughs, visual planning. We have automated, AI for reading road signs and documenting them, databasing them. So yeah, any other questions there? Oh, so what just while you're asking, I was going to bring up.
Yeah, I think Matthew asked about the entities. So maybe he was asking, are entities equal to like one BIM model or all the entities within that BIM model? How do you calculate entities in your license, I think is the question.
Thank you. Yes. So an entity is a thing that you want to track. So if you've got just buildings, you're just, like each building is a thing that you want to click on and get data about, then a building is an entity. If every chair in that building is something that you want to track, then a chair is an entity. So generally, to give an idea, in the pricing of the first tier, 50,000 entities is about the size of, a pretty comprehensive piece of plant, piping plant. 50,000 individual buildings in a city is quite a lot of buildings to track. Windows. So that's the way to think about it. An entity is a thing, and there are tools you can collapse up or collapse down, the number of entities. So if you don't want the full detail of a BIM model, you don't have to have it, but you can.
So if I took a Revit model that had fully furnished furniture in it, exported as IFC, is that going to be one entity or?
No, it's going to be as many entities as there are in Revit, and you can bring the Revit model in directly if you like. But we do encourage people to go through IFC because it creates a more open structure. When you go to communicate with other data types, it is actually very useful. But you can directly import the Revit files and it will map all of the attributions. But no, if your building is one thing in Revit, then it'll come in as one thing. But if it's a full, IFC model, with every wall and window, then it will come in exactly as that, with each of those things being an entity.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's all the questions come in. I think we're gonna pause here. But that's really good stuff. I could see that being used with definitely when you're going to city council and zoning meetings and doing these presentations with all these bookmarks and that viewer. That'd be very helpful. Typically, when a lot of engineers, they'll just go to a city council meeting, you'll see a PowerPoint slide. Sometimes you might see a video that they produce and maybe a high render video, animation video, possibly in whatever third-party application like Lumion or Twinmotion. But most of everything I see is like a 2D. You might see a SketchUp, angle view, but not like this level.
And this one here, you can. Oops, sorry. Is you can pop out this presentation mode here. So I'm actually running this on the other screen, so I can then go full screen here, and we can run the presentation off screen like this. So this becomes a and you can link media and so forth with it. So I right click and this will run the the media and video of this, or take us and link us to additional documents, and so forth. So the whole thing, can be set up to tell, quite the story. And we go.
Tony, one of the things we're doing now is we're integrating the 3D models for the cities, and then we're linking Matterport. So they zoom in, and then they get a virtual tour with Matterport. They zoom back, or they pick a certain point, in this case in the stadium, and they say, where, what does this look like from this angle, from the outside, and all that kind of stuff. So it sort of has a feel of like Google Maps, right? Where you get Street View, you get some other interactive touch points, but you're still interacting with the 3D model, with all the information on the stadium and all the plans and all that kind of stuff. So it's it's a hybrid, I think, product, but it's also something that's using, as an open architecture app, it's using a very powerful set of functional applications that can be sort of uniquely integrated for projects, either for a project or for a full maintenance. It's very flexible. You can scale it either way.
Yeah, so it's, and you can see it's all data driven. So, the level in the tank can be linked to a sensor, which says what's the level in the tank, what's the temperature in the room, and all the silos, is captured. It's is your data relationships, that's and that data relationship, can keep a record of what's going on, that this is, so data driven, but that data relationship exists, at a global scale. And, you zoom into the refinery and down to a close-up view in there to, an individual pipe, or maybe you've got work orders. Where's your fire exits? What's the safety? The pump detail, that we saw. And
so that's helpful right there, where you can pull up, kind of details of certain items and stuff like that. So
you can mix and match, your point cloud scanning, do your measurements, check against as built versus as designed. And got the hotspot, you can go in and we mentioned, click on something like this, and we'll see all of the documents, so we can see. And these are all automatically generated right down to the hotspot within the layout. So it's automatically cross-linked, with the isometric or.
Quick question. So you have a few, I guess, look like analysis tools. Are y'all going to incorporate something, like if I got a big giant let's say a mixed use development, and I'm bringing all this data in, and I need to show a photometric plan of the lighting? Does you have any capabilities for that?
When you say a photometric plan of lighting, so
it shows the limits, spacing of the lights per the type of fixture you have in the parking lot. And then it shows, if it's going to go over to your neighbor's yard. So we have to create sometimes a photometric plan to make sure that the lighting covers the parking lot based on shading and shadow casting also. So I don't know if y'all have anything like that. There's just there's software out there, independent software does that.
Yeah, it's basic in that sense. Like if you bring in your I think it's the IE there's your profiles, your lighting profiles. Potentially they can be models. IEC, what is it? That they can be modeled, as transparent geometry, and you can sort of see things like that. But largely analytics we keep fairly simple. Our goal is to provide a coherent data model in terms of the data and the geometry to analytic systems. So we have a number of plug-in things that will do analytics, like figure out, the amount of wall area facing in the cardinal directions for solar energy analysis. We have other people who total up, the number of valves and a thing. So we generally give the job of detailed analytics to, people who plug into the system or read the data out and then write the values of that analytics back. We're not experts in all the possible, scientific analytic, capabilities that are out there, but our job is to provide, very, very good raw data to simulation and analytic systems and, even AI, and then be able to read the results and then display them back in the world. We're always up for having a look if there's a particular use case and want to work with a customer to add some specific type of analytics for them.
Do y'all coordinate with FEMA to bring in like the GIS data for floodplains?
We haven't coordinated with FEMA.
That would be a really good one, because if you got your
Yeah.
model and you're bringing it in, you really need
Absolutely.
to bring in
Yeah,
that
we-
FEMA floodplain.
Yeah, we have got a whole floodplain thing we've done, but not with FEMA, but in other countries. And yes, that's exactly what we've done. Floodplain analysis. We've been tracking, emergency response. Flooding, floodplain prone areas. Building a little localized emergency response system with it. So yes, it's quite capable of doing a lot of stuff.
I know the users can do it, but that'd be cool if you already had it in your system or something. I don't know if Esri has it, but
yeah, the floodplains, it's actually reasonably straightforward once you've got the photogrammetric data and the terrain data, because we take in what are called geotiffs. So geotiffs come from scanning. They're also available, in high resolution for local areas. So you bring that in, you literally drag and drop, and that creates a three-dimensional terrain. Then what we can do is you simply put in, you add the floodplain. That's just it's a 2-minute process to add a floodplain thing into it, which you then can adjust and control its elevation. You can see and build your cuts through. Yeah, so it's actually, I was just looking to see whether I had one. There's one that's already been done. One company,
and that's something when we're working on the engine. I'm in the engineering side, and I'm looking at floodplains of waters of the U.S. And also aquifers, zones. And I will download that data and keep basically a database on my own server. So
I'll see with the one. I'm sorry, I wasn't quite prepared, but I'll see if this one of my demos in here has got it. But there's the guys have moved it around, but. No.
And I don't even know. I don't know if you've seen this, but if cities are providing you traffic impact analysis also for free.
Yeah, those types of things can be added, because they're generally in the form of things with attributes and relationships, and so being able to put those in. So no, I don't think I've got these demos set up,
but no, this is a great presentation. I can definitely see the benefits of it, of using this. I'm on the engineering side, so I've been using. You was asking Kevin, I think, asked me in the beginning, what were we using for kind of a 3D presentation BIM, and I use InfoWorks to do simple models, and so just one second, somebody was asking to come online. And so I use InfoWorks. I'll download all the GIS data from the city, that's zoning maps, and then bring in some aerials from Esri, and then bring in my 3D models from Civil 3D, and then I'll ask the architect from his Revit models, and I bring that in, and just put it all together within probably like 2 hours. I have a simple model. But it's more cartoonish. It's not like high level like yours is, so it's very, unless the Revit model is nice, but the rest of stuff is more cartoonish. It's not quite the level, but it's just to present to the stakeholders or your developers or city council. And then we'll take it from there into like, I'll push it and give it to somebody here to do into Lumion or Twin Motion, that, or a lower level, like there's Inkscape, is a little bit lower level than those two engines. And then some people push it out to beyond CAD, for other 3D modeling. But right now for simple stuff, I do InfoWorks, but this is just like the next step up. You're bringing in more data, you're doing high rendering. So yeah.
Yes.
I believe, people want more realism,
Yeah.
and they want, they do want portability at times. So NextSpace provides that portability if you need it, or you can build, you can render it right on your machine, your own computer, and design and interact. So it sort of has a dual capability. But what I am finding out is that a lot of state and local government are looking for 3D digital twins now. They really want real 3D models. They want to have 3D in their presentations. There's digital submission laws happening in Cambridge, Boston. Peter and I, we just finished a model of Boston. It was 30,000 buildings. And, and now they're talking about using NextSpace, right? Because they're saying, we need to go, we've got ArcGIS Urban, it's great, but we need, other capabilities to complement that. So, you're just seeing a trend now in demand for richer content and more urban simulation because of climate change.
Yeah.
So Mark was showing those terrains. Those terrains are really critical.
People are becoming more and more visual, when they're designing.
Oh yeah.
Not just 2D space. So
absolutely.
Is Earthquake? I mean, certainly one of the trends that we're seeing. Sorry, I've just found where we'll run through some of these things, but scenarios. But to be direct, we're seeing that people are getting a little bit weary of very complex licensing models and products. From the likes of Esri, Bentley, and so forth. They're very complex collections of products to do these things, and the cost, to make this available. Like I'm showing you this, and I want all of it. I just want to say, make this available online, to unlimited number of users. So the ability to, provide, really simple licensing, scalable cloud performance, complete flexibility in what's been presented, is very attractive. And so we're finding people, moving away perhaps, from the more traditional GIS, and some of the other digital twin system to this, pure cloud-based approach because it's more cost effective. It's easier to use. It's easier to set up. It's, more limitless in terms of the data types and, what can be done with it. So I've just seen it. One of these has got, so this has got, the charging stations, this is, down to the, wind power and, pumping stations, so you can bring in data from plant and process, from your LiDAR, from your photogrammetric data supply, pipe material, underground piping. Let's have a look. I'll see what else is in here. Oh yeah, 100-year flooding. It's all been calculated against the accurate terrains in here, and we'll see that all of these floodplains have been brought in.
I don't look good.
I think, Tony, you can imagine a world where all this is accessible via the web as a service, right? That's the ultimate dream for all the engineers out there and designers and urban planners, is that all this becomes data that's available that they can start incorporating and creating their own projects.
Oh yeah, there's a few cities here that, only one or two I've seen here in the DFW where I reached out to the city and they gave me, their website. They gave me a link. I had to go through a security check, and then you can just go and download all the surrounding pipe networks and 3D parts and grading and, surface and terrains from a project where I'm working out all the surrounding development around me, next, within maybe a block or something, which was pretty cool. I would just wish every city would do that, where I can just, hey, I got this commercial property. I need everything around me, all the utilities, everything, 3D modeled, the buildings have been next to me. I think that'd be pretty cool that, if every city could do that. Let me ask, so one last question, I guess we'll pause here. We've been on, for a while. Do y'all have a link if somebody wants to provide, like, hey, we designed this building close to downtown Dallas or city, we'd like to give it to y'all so y'all can upload in y'all's own database. Do y'all do that, or?
So I'm not quite sure I follow that, Tony. Could you just
So
explain?
if somebody wanted, you have a collection of a database, some files, right? Some of these buildings,
Yeah.
I guess for Kevin, if somebody was, if somebody wanted to give you like a 3D model of a building they designed, do y'all accept those files?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we accept those. You
Yeah.
can upload spreadsheets.
Yeah.
You can create, almost live updates if you
Mhm.
want. If you
Yeah.
want to build your own API links and have live data coming in, we're doing that now with with solar information
Yeah.
on rooftops to get live consumption data for
Yeah.
environmental awareness, and just all kinds of applications where we have live data or live document
Yeah.
access. For
So
sure.
somebody did post a question on the document link. Does NextSpace manage a document control? So that link is document to an entity, not a duplicate with an outdated document link to a similar entity.
yes, I have to be cautious that that's quite a deep question. That just so let me answer it in a sort of pedestrian way, which is that the system is designed to link in to an existing document management system, and the documents you see are links. We don't, and it's a general principle that's really important to note, is that we don't seek necessarily to be the single source of truth. Like, you don't necessarily need to copy your data to NextSpace. What we are is a single point of access to all of your existing sources of truth. It means that you can choose to put data into the NextSpace cloud, which ultimately is on AWS or Vultr or Azure. Or you can leave your data in your existing repositories, be they local or online, and access them, with a common view of the data and the geometry and everything through our interface. But in the case of a document management system, yes, we can manage documents and store them, and we have basic, versioning, but we're not a full-on document management system in that sense. If you have a full-on document management system, then the data that you see, the documents are actually linked back, and you are seeing the current document in your document management system, and you will only see it if you have the appropriate logins through the API to that system, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. Okay, I think we'll stop here. I think people are getting back to work now. So great webinar. I think this is a great webinar. Glad I recorded it. That way we can put it on our channel. More people can watch it that wasn't able to attend. So yeah, this is pretty amazing. Yeah, with working with both products, and
yeah,
so,
thanks to everyone, by the way, for the comments and the interest. I would rather present a small group of people that are deeply engaged in a massive crowd where you don't get touched. So I like it. It's always good to get feedback from users and learn about what you're doing. And NextSpace and CyberCity, we definitely try harder because we're eager to sort of lead the wave here with this new trend. So feel free to drop us an email. Thanks so much, Tony, for your hosting this, and maybe we can do it again sometime in the future.
Yeah, I'll let you know if I have any questions. Some people talk about it in our private user group platform. So some people are saying a few comments about it, and curious about it, and then I'll send y'all's. What I'll do, if they have more questions, I'll just give them your email address, so that way they can directly contact you. So
fantastic.
But
thank you, Mark.
Well, awesome. I appreciate
so much for stepping in here and pinch hitting
Yeah.
for Matt. I think it's like we brought the guy off the bench that hit a grand slam. So that's good. That's the way you want to do it. And thanks, Peter, for sitting in. We didn't have to have you come in for Matt because Mark came in, but thank you for sitting in as well. and then we'll be in touch.
All right,
Yeah.
everyone. Thanks for attending, and we'll post this video on our YouTube channel on Civil CAD Learning Solutions YouTube. So, all right, thanks,
that was
guys.
just
Thanks, Kevin.
the final thing. That's your NVIDIA Omniverse version of that library to click in with the
Mhm.
NextSpace data.
Wow.
So all in the.
Oh, that's
and-
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, you get the idea. It's the same data, and you can render it and find every window and make them glass and so forth. Anyway, it's probably enough for today, but just to show this, there are multiple ways to look at your digital twin.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks so
All right,
much.
thank you. Yeah. have a
Thank you,
great-
Mark. Bye-bye.
Later.